Welcome to Flipping Miami, a podcast for those who want to learn real estate investing, do more, and make more. Now, here is your host, Raul Bolufe.
What's up, everyone? This is Flipping Miami by Raul Bolufe. I'm so pumped today. I have Kent Clothier on with me, him and his tattoo. And he's probably the best looking, most famous bald-headed person in real estate.
Wow.
If you clicked on one of his, if you clicked on him, then you'll see him forever. But he's a beast. I consider him. I really look up to him. He's one of my mentors and coaches from our mastermind that I'm a part of, and he's just an absolute rock star. Needs no introduction, but. Kent, man, thanks for coming on, dude. I really appreciate this.
Dude, of course, man. My pleasure. Happy to be here, brother.
Yeah, man. We'll jump into some questions, but real quick, let's give like a quick intro on kind of who you are. Like, what are you doing as far as like real estate and entrepreneurship right now?
Yeah, so as you know, I've been in the game since 2002, right? So 17 years in the real estate space now. I own a company called Real Estate Worldwide, which provides a piece of software out there. It's now used by, I think we just passed 50,000 users on the software around the country that provides leads. It's called the Smart System, provides leads for cash buyers, private lenders, motivated sellers, all the direct mail, everything baked into it. We've been doing that since 2008. We also have our real estate investment company called Memphis Invest, which buys and sells roughly between 900 and 1,000 properties a year. This might be the year that we actually passed 1,000. And then we also, I'm the founder of the Boardroom Mastermind, which you're part of, right? Which is an elite group of investors from all over the country that gets together several times a year and basically does their best work by sharing all their best ideas and helping each other kind of get to the next level. So all that keeps me really busy. And now I'm also the CEO and founder of our newest creation, Cribs here, which is launching in July.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that a little bit later. But so basically we know that Kent's not a busy guy at all. So he just eats Cheetos all day, whatever.
That's exactly right.
So cool. I just want to start from the top. I like to do things like kind of get to know you a little bit. And for our audience, a lot of my audience is realtors, kind of newer people starting the business, maybe some people who've done a few deals, or people who are interested in millennials doing business, entrepreneurship.
Right.
So I kind of want to get to know, let's start from the top. Like, who were you in like high school or middle school? Like, who was Kent Clothier at that time? Were you kind of like the bully? Were you not? Were you very studious? Who were you at that time?
I was neither one of those. I can tell you what I did not go to college. Right. I hardly got out of high school. Okay. But I was raised in an entrepreneurial family. And so I basically, I was raised in Dallas, Texas, right? Went to school called South Lake Carroll, which is now considered one of the powerhouses of Texas high school football. And when that kind of started when I was in the school. And so long story short, my life was all about playing football. And basically when I wasn't playing football, I was going to my dad's grocery stores and working. And so I didn't have a lot of time for girlfriends. I certainly didn't have time for school. Definitely didn't have time for anything, any social activity whatsoever. I was just kind of, if I was going to describe myself, I'd probably describe myself as the nerd, right? I was kind of a social outcast. Didn't really give a shit about hanging out with anybody. But what I did care about a lot was making money. And so I got started in business really, really young. 17 years old, I started a company. And then by the time I was 30, it was the 7th largest privately held company in the state of Florida and was doing $1.8 billion a year. And so it was my 20s or my high school going all the way up into my 20s was probably very different than most people out there. That's for sure, man. I was working, I was hustling, and I was hustling at a level that most, looking back, most probably it would find it difficult to even imagine.
Wow, that's crazy. Dude, and like kind of going off that, what made you tick to not only start your company, but continue, right? Because starting is one thing. It's like, okay, cool. I want to make more money. I want to work for myself. I want a company, this and that. But what made you take to start and also like continue the hustle when things get hard and people tell you this and you get your friends doing different things and family? Like, what was that?
Well,
what was
like I said, coming up in a family where my father was a really good example of what an entrepreneur was, right? He may not have been the greatest, father per se, where, we sat around and at the dinner table and ate together and sang Kumbaya and prayed none of that was going on in my life. It was definitely, hey, let's go, let's get to work. Let's go figure out what we need to do. I was just brought up with a work ethic, if you will, that was off the charts. Now, when we're all kids, we don't know any different. So to me, that just seemed normal. And so it didn't seem unusual for me to go from school to football practice, right to work, starting when I was at 14 years old. And like I said, we owned grocery stores at the time. And so I kind of got it very naturally, that work ethic, if you will. And so because I got it so early in my life, I just didn't, like I said, I didn't know any different. The world had not gotten to me yet. And so all I was ever taught is good isn't good when great is expected. Go, 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 go. And so, looking back now, that's a massive gift that I was given at that time. But to me, it just seemed normal. But I now know that most people don't get that. Most people, are taught to go to school, go to college, go work for somebody else, get a good job, all that kind of stuff. None of that was ever even in our conversations. That was never even a consideration. It was, let's just go build something and make it great. And so when I was in my 20s, the momentum of building and starting this business with my father was building and building and building and building. And so naturally when, success leads to more success, which leads to more success. And, when I was 23, we now lived in Memphis, Tennessee. When I was 23, all the guys that I went to high school with that all went off to college came back and started working for me. So the one guy that didn't go to college, all my boys that all made fun of me that as they went off to all their SEC schools and they came back with their fancy diplomas, in the end, all ended up working for my ass. And so it was, again, it was a very different upbringing, but to me at the time, it just seemed normal. I didn't know any different. And so we just kept going and through acquisitions and through building and through all of this, what's the easiest way for me to say it? Just through that wisdom, through that experience, through that trial and error, we just never stopped. And before we knew it, we looked up and this massive organization with 600 people had been built. And, it still exists today. It still operates right down there in Boca Raton, Florida, right down there next to you. A company called Purity Wholesale Grocers. And so again, what kept me going was the success. What kept me going was the drive to just continue to be better than what I was the previous day. But, that comes with a big aha, right? Because that kind of drive without any kind of balance is, a curse. It's not a blessing. It's an absolute curse.
Yeah.
And so through my 20s, I got married and I had a child, right? My son, but I was still the guy that got to the office at 5:30 in the morning and was the guy that left there at 10 o'clock at night and took a ton of pride in that nobody was going to beat me in or beat me or leave after me. And all that comes at the money might be great, but that comes at a massive cost if you're not careful. And in the end, it did cost me. And so it was great that I got all those experiences. It was even better that I lost it all when I was 32 or when I was 30.
Yeah. No, yeah. So kind of what I heard there was like, what made you tick was not that your family was kind of brought you up there. It was like normal for you, second nature to just jump into business, build something, go to work, go early, leave late, manage employees, run people. It was kind of normal. You've just been around it, but it's not the case for everybody. But when things got hard, it's kind of, you got to look at Kent, right? Your father or nobody else is going to tell you, hey, when things get hard, do this, do this. It's kind of, you got to look at you. What you did, you were just driven by the success. You're like, shit, all I know is I got to build something great, and this is what it takes to get there. So I'm just going to keep working and keep figuring it out. And that's when you said it could be a curse.
Well, what happens is, and again, you've heard me talk about this a lot, right? At our events, is that I'm extremely grateful for having that. I'm extremely grateful for what that does, but I'm also, now I have the perspective of understanding, as an older guy now I understand how to balance it. But at the time, again, that momentum is what it's all about. When you're building and you're hustling and you're going and you get a little taste of it, you want more. You want a bigger taste of it, man. And that can come in money, that can come in success, that can come in admiration, respect. there's all kinds of currency that gets paid your way when you are crushing the game, and it becomes addictive.
Love that. That kind of takes you to like the next question I had. What is this might be the answer, but what is a lesson that has taken you the longest to learn? So like, is it the balance, like the work-life balance?
Oh yeah, for sure. And again, it's very cliche. A lot of people say it, very few live it. But I can tell you that I absolutely live it, and it took me a long, long time to figure it out, right? You do it, as the saying goes, you do it long enough, you'll figure it out. Well, I'm that guy. I'm the guy that clearly knows I will never be broke. I will always be rich because I know how to make money, which is a huge thing, right? And takes a ton of pressure off. But if you're an asshole, money just makes you a bigger asshole. That's all it does. And so learning how to be the guy or girl that understands how to balance it and how to actually design what you really want and not chase money, that's a huge lesson, right? And I'm very, very grateful that I learned that I lost everything at an early age. So I had the time to earn it all back and do it the right way and actually apply the lesson that I learned. Yeah.
Do you think that, I feel like it happens to so many entrepreneurs or people who go from working at a job to then starting a business, and you go through I feel like everyone kind of goes through some kind of down point, that you lose some money, in this case, you lose properties, or you lose assets, or you lose employees, et cetera, partnerships. Does it really take that to learn that lesson every time?
Well, my goal, because I get asked why I do this, why I go off and try to help thousands of people every year. And that is my goal, is certainly to try to provide enough value that you don't have to learn that lesson. Is that I've learned those lessons before. So if you will just listen to me, I promise you that I can save you that heartache. But I think for a lot of us, we get caught believing our own bullshit. We get caught up in thinking we are the exception. And we get caught thinking that we are better than we are. And unfortunately, when that arrogance sets in, man, and you're making money and you're having a great time and you're, all the great things that are going on in life, it's very easy to get caught up in. And what very, very few people have an appreciation for is how fast it can all be gone. Yeah. Any business, anybody that owns a business that's doing something even remotely sketchy. And I mean, you crossed a line one time, and I don't even mean in a meaningful way. I just mean that, a home seller did not agree, thinks that they were somehow duped by you. It's just something as simple as that, where you don't think you were duped, right? You're one investigation from an attorney general popping in on you, and I promise you'll realize just how vulnerable your ass really is. And it's that kind of healthy reminder that's really important. So I think that I think that unfortunately people get kind of wound up and think that they're better than they are, and circumstances happen. And when they happen, it's a shock to the system. I mean, humility is probably the greatest gift that I was ever given, like when I lost everything, because up to that point, I was a product of my success. I had never lost anything ever. So I had no perspective that anything could go away. And I found out real quick just how fast everything could go away real quick. And so I think that yes, there are people that flirt with it every day and have no idea.
Yeah. And did you feel like, since you're like young and that age, running a big business, making a ton of money, or, having like all this authority, do you think that became kind of you? Was that like your identity? And once that, you lost that income or whatever happened in your life, that you kind of like lost that, was it like very challenging to overcome this like identity issue? Was it something like that?
Yeah, because, again, my particular circumstances, I had been wildly successful, right? I'm talking tens of millions of dollars every year going into the bank account, beyond what most of making a lifetime I was making in 12 months. And I was 30 years old.
It's crazy.
And so, I definitely believed everything that anybody would ever say about me that was great, and ignored everything that anybody would say about me that was not great. And I did not believe I could fail. And it was absolutely who my identity was. And I was in an industry, because I had been so successful, that I was a god. There wasn't one person in that industry that did not know me, my name, period. I'd walk into a room and everybody knew who I was. And so losing everything in spectacular, very public fashion, and then in turn fighting for it and then burning every bridge on the way down, that is a gut-wrenching experience, I can assure you, at every level. You know, it's one thing when your neighbor files for bankruptcy and nobody knows. It's something quite different when literally everybody in your world, business, personal, everybody knows what's going on in your life. It is all going down. So yeah, my personal identity was, to say it was bruised, my ego was bruised, would be putting it very mildly. It was the most humbling, shocking thing that I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I mean, it was torturous to go through what I was going through, but it was exactly, you know, again, I'm 20 years removed from it now, so I can tell you that it was exactly what I needed at the time. I didn't know it then, but now I'm extremely grateful that it happened because it brought me into real estate, right? I was in a completely different industry. I had to go into real estate because nobody knew me and I had to make money.
And I'm a huge advocate. Like life kind of has its cycles in business and in life. So like you had your cycle, you're like on a huge uptrend, then you went on a downtrend. But because of this downtrend, brought you on a bigger upswing. And also, I think from your story, this is like how you kind of like got together with your wife and to your wife now, and kind of like how things produce. And then without this up and down, you wouldn't be where you are right now. You wouldn't be talking. You wouldn't have the mastermind, and you probably would have helped thousands of people like now. And it's like what you said, like you don't realize it at the time, but just every decision, everything that happens to you happens for you instead of to you. And I'll tie that kind of like into business and real estate in a minute, but it's just important to like hear from you that you've done it, you've been up here, you've been down here, you've been up here. It's just like how.
Man, when I can tell you, when I'm standing in front of a crowd and I tell you I know what it feels like to be broke, I don't give a shit how broke you are. I know exactly what it feels like, right? I know exactly how tough life can really be. I know how desperate it can really be. I know exactly what it feels like to be trying to figure out how you're going to pay bills. I know what it feels like to try to figure out how you're going to feed your kids. I know what it feels like to be in the most desperate situation you've ever been in. I've been there. And so to your point, it allows me now, it's part of what makes me who I am today. It makes me good at what I do today is because there's nobody in that room I can't relate to. I mean, and so when I'm coaching people through their hard times and getting them back up on their feet and getting them to the next level, it makes me very relatable. There's not much that they can throw at me that I haven't crossed those lines.
Right. Yeah, that's because you've been doing it since so young. I just want maybe like one or two more kind of like introspective questions that will jump into some real estate talk.
Yeah, go ahead. Take your time.
Yeah. So this is kind of like maybe an unorthodox question, but I like to ask successful people is kind of like, what's your like dark side, when it comes to, your life? Like, you have this awesome side of you that you want to help people, you love what you do, you're empowering, you go out there, you speak, and you create all these programs and stuff to really help elevate. But what's kind of like the dark side of Kent, like, what is it? Is it like you're a workaholic? Do you like, enjoy, I don't know, kind of like what's like a dark side you would say, I don't know if you've read the book Relentless, and he talks about like the dark side.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got their, the other side of them. I think probably, I'm somewhat of the black sheep of my family, right? I live out here in San Diego. All of my family lives back in Memphis or in Dallas. I'm a little bit, I guess probably if I was going to say the dark side is I'm a little bit of a loner. I do not like authority. I don't like people telling me what to do. I do not work well in those environments whatsoever. And so I try to avoid putting anybody in a position where they have any power over me whatsoever. And so that puts me, figuratively out on an island a little bit away from our businesses back home. But it also, again, it also helps me it's the yin and the yang, right? What makes me where I seem like I'm distant, where I can be misinterpreted that I don't care and I don't really want to be around people and all that. It's also, and I'm isolated, those kinds of things. It certainly could be perceived that way, but it also allows me to put myself in a position to where I'm able to be the real version of me, right? Where I don't feel like have anybody standing over me, looking at me and saying, well, don't do this or don't do that. I am so anti being told what to do that I've quite literally moved thousands away from people who would have any opportunity to do that. So if I was going to say there's a dark side, I am 150% unemployable. I could never work for anybody, could never have anybody ever tell me anything to do ever. I'm allergic to it. And so that's a blessing and a curse. It kind of distances me from my family, but it's also helped me to achieve some things that I wanted to achieve. Yeah,
and then it also comes down to like a happiness factor, right? You know, you kind of, at the end of the day, it's your life, it's my life, it's whoever's life, and if that's it, then so be it. I mean, it's just, you're the one making decisions anyway, so you got to live it, right?
It is what it is, baby. Right? I mean, the time is now. We get one shot at this thing, and I'm not. I'm one of those people that I play full out. I'm not going to sit here and sit around and ever not play full out.
Yeah, the good thing with that is I can relate a little bit, but the good thing with that is like, all right, so you're not around the people who have told you what to do in the past, whatever. But then when you do get around them, it's like pretty authentic. Like it's a decent interaction / conversation. You know, it's not like if you're around them all the time, it's like if you're away for 2 years and you come back, it's like, okay, you can actually like talk to this person. You know,
100%, 100%. Like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. I get accused a lot of making myself distant and unapproachable and all that kind of stuff. And it's not really what I'm intending to do. I don't want to be around. I have time for the people that I have time for. And it's that simple.
Yeah. Love that. Dude, that's kind of like question. So that's a question like the introspect yourself. What are some of like the good habits? And so you must have had good habits when you were younger, you know, had that huge upswing. And you probably have really good habits now that, you know, you're not that you're older, but you know, you got more experience. What would you say are like some of the good habits that you had back then to now, and which ones like do you value the most? Like, what are the better habits that you recommend for people to start gathering? Is it working 18 hours a day? Is it?
No. I think that the habits I had when I was younger I still lean on today is I was smart enough and fortunate enough that I invested a lot of money in myself, not in college, but in courses and going away to different classes to learn how to become a leader and how to be able to influence people and how to be able to use persuasion and help get my message across to people. And so in my 20s, I went to Dale Carnegie, I went to Charles Karras, I went to Zig Ziglar. I mean, I invested months of my life in these courses trying to understand how to be the leader that I wanted to be. And so those are habits that I still do today. I still invest a lot of money in my own education, whether it's through masterminds or through other courses or whatever the case may be. Those are really good habits. If you want to be a leader, which nobody, hopefully nobody wants to be a manager, nobody, or wants to even be somebody that is a solopreneur. If you want to be a leader of people and have people, inspire people, push people to achieve great things, and then inside of your world, that's a skill that has to be learned, right? That does not come natural to people. You have to understand how to get the best out of people every single day. And so that is something that I really, really still use to this day from my youth. And then, things that I do today that are really good habits is that I am extremely disciplined with my time. I've, as it has become my mantra for the last 7 or 8 years of my life that the time is now. I live it and breathe it every single day. I'm a product of everything I say when it comes to that. I time block religiously. I do not allow people into my world that are a waste of my time. To the point where it can be off-putting, but I don't really give a shit. I mean, it's one of those where it's like, listen, if you want to be a part of my world and I can bring value to your life and you can bring value to my life, well, let's talk. If we got this whole little song and dance that's going on, I don't have time for that. And that has proven to be a really great thing for me in my life, because what it has allowed me to do is to realize how much time I can actually give to the things that I care about. My family, my kids, my wife, my charities. I mean, those are the things that really, our students, those are the things that really make me tick. What doesn't make me tick is sitting around and saying, well, how many houses can we flip today? that's the business. That's a product. I mean, that's something that we do because we need to do it and because we're good at it, but that's not me. That's not what really matters to me in the end. What I really care about is all the other things I just mentioned. And so being really disciplined with my time is a really good habit.
Yeah, and that's something so key I've learned from being in the mastermind. A lot from you. You do a lot of speaking there, but really the high-level guys, you, Sean, Justin, and other high-level people that are involved as well. Dude, everyone talks about time like very, very often. Hey, I spend this much amount of time with my family. Oh, I'm like, dude, how much time do you spend in meetings? 90 minutes flat. Like people, once you start hanging around people who actually care about their time, and this mastermind has like kind of allowed us to do so, you realize like, damn, I've been wasting so much time on doing X activity, or I haven't spent enough time doing X with my family, with my friends, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it just makes you realize, damn, the time is so key, man. It's so key. And when you can manage time, you can just make so much more money and so much more moves and just be overall happier.
Yeah, what happens is people, again, going back to the comment I made earlier, people kind of get caught up in their own bullshit and they don't understand how reckless and irresponsible they're actually being, right? They don't do it intentionally, but they just don't have a good appreciation for it. So what happens is they sit around and talk about, well, I'll get to it later. I'll get to it tomorrow. They to your point, spend time doing just dumb task inside of their business that they shouldn't be doing. Yeah. And so it ends up being, they end up wasting the one thing that they can't afford to waste, and that's time. And so to your point, when you point it out to somebody and you make them fully understand that it is the only thing that matters, people start, and you hold them accountable for it. It's amazing what they can start doing with it, right? They just realize just how unproductive or how irresponsible they've been. And it's a shock to the system when you first hear it, when you first get it, but it's also extremely liberating once you get your arms around it, baby.
And why do you think people don't like put so much importance on it? Is it because they just don't know what they don't know? Is it like they feel that?
No, that's what it is. Yeah, they just, I mean, when was the last time, before you walked in that mastermind, had anybody ever sat down with you and said, what would you do with the last 7 days of your life? What would you do if you could design every day? I mean, these are conversations we have, right? And when you have that, probably the first time anybody had ever said anything like that to you. And when you get it pointed out to you like that, and you have to kind of evaluate, it's humbling. I just think that we are, look, here's what it really boils down to. We as human beings, our analytical mind, our conscious mind is designed to do one thing. It basically keep us alive, survive, don't die, right? And so in an effort to make that a reality, think about it. If we turned around every day and actually slowed down for a few minutes and thought about how many times we could die. When you get in the car and you get on the phone and you drive down the street, all right, well, right now I got a 1 in 1,000 shot of being killed in a car. I mean, if you actually slowed down to think about those things, you drive yourself crazy. How many people die stepping off the curb in front of a car? How many people die, slip and fall inside? You just go bonkers thinking about that, but it doesn't make it any less true. But so that's our brain is designed to kind of numb us to what's really going on. And I think there's a portion of our brain that deserves to be opened up when it comes to the time element. All the rest of the stuff, you go crazy on, but the time I think is important because that's actually something we get a choice in. You get a choice on what you do from the moment you get the gift of that first breath in the morning, right? When you wake up and you get going until you lay your head down at night, you get a choice in every one of those minutes. And it's just easier to turn that side of your brain off and say, well, I would just choose not to think about it and I'll just go through the motions, right? Because that's just easy. That's just survival. But
comfort.
Comfort. I don't think we're designed to do that. I mean, I think that you'll notice that every high achiever that as you just pointed out earlier, they don't think about time like that. They think about, man, how do I wring out as much as I can from this day, right? This is the only one. This is the only one of these days that's ever going to happen. How can I get the most out of this one? Yeah. And when that happens, man, that's when the greatness happens.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like liberating. It's like shit. Although sometimes it sounds, when I first started like really calculating a lot of my time and using calendars and scheduling things like very religiously. At first, I'm like, man, I'm like living like a mechanical life. But then you just start scheduling your free time and start scheduling your travel time.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you actually enjoy it more because you're like, shit, I've worked 55 hours, but then now I get, a weekend or whatever time to really enjoy and do the shit I want to do. And you actually like enjoy it. It feels more fulfilling because you're like, shit, I earned it.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen Jesse Itzler speak. He spoke at our Scale and Escape a couple of years ago, and he's speaking at the one we're doing in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But he has a great way of talking about this. He's an amazing guy, and he talks about that. And I started doing this after he said it, but I schedule 2 hours a day for me. I schedule, an hour in the morning before my kids go to school, after the gym, with my kids, to play with my kids. And to your point, when you start doing that, what happens is that you are no longer there. You don't build up any kind of resentment towards your kids or towards your family. Like when you're sitting there and you're trying to work, and your kids or your wife or your girlfriend or whoever, a husband's coming at you, and you're like, man, can you just leave me alone? I'm trying to do this. That doesn't happen. When you schedule time, and you're like, babe, our time is going to be in an hour, or dad's time is going to, those kinds of situations just disappear. And so all that resentment or all any of that just kind of goes away. So it's amazing what happens when you, to your point, it can feel a little robotic, but a better word for it is it's discipline. It's respect. You respect your time.
That's so deep. And I feel like there is some people that kind of absorb it and there isn't. I just hope that the people listening are the people that can absorb this and like take it for what it is. I remember
let me just say one thing real quick, dude, is that I can tell you firsthand experience. Right. Part of how I got to this place was, and this, I had a mentor that passed away that was extremely wealthy. And he'd spent his entire life working his ass off to the point where he had tens of millions of dollars sitting in the bank, and got diagnosed with cancer and passed away 6 months after he got diagnosed. And I will never forget holding his hand when he passed away in a hospital bed in Daytona Beach, Florida. And he wrote on a whiteboard, because he was so hooked up to everything, he wrote on a whiteboard, I just wish I had more time. It was his last message to me. And it had such a profound effect on me that here's a guy that had worked so hard for the money part of it his whole life and had all the money you could ever want. And that money couldn't buy him the one thing he wanted when he died, and that was time. And so your time, by the way, is not for sale. You can't buy any more of it. So it ain't for sale, baby. I don't care how much money you got. It ain't going to make one difference in the end. You're not going to be able to purchase one more minute when it's your time. And that's extremely humbling when you actually think about that, right? And then, shortly thereafter, I had the incident on the airplane where I was on the plane and we had to make an emergency landing. And so these two things had a serious impact on me. The world was talking to me. The universe was talking to me. It shook me to my core and really helped me understand that, if somebody's watching this and they're not getting it, that's a choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you when you don't want to get the message is when you're 30,000 feet in the air and your plane is filling with smoke and the thing's going down. That is not the moment you want to be like, oh, wow, I just wish I'd listened to those guys and thought about time a little differently. I'd much rather think about it right now, watching a podcast where I can actually do something about it.
Yeah. No, that's why listening to people like Kent and other successful people talk about time is key, man. It's if I go through something like that, will it, obviously trigger something like, damn, time is important? Or if I listen to you say it 10 times, that'll also trigger it in my mind, say, maybe it's important. And then now you just act upon it, right? One of the things is I want to help people that want to be helped, right? That's the reason for this podcast, the YouTube channel. I really just want to help people who want to be helped. There's people that don't want to be helped. And unfortunately, I don't have the time and energy to help you until you find it in yourself to want to be helped. Then you can come listen to this stuff and maybe it'll trigger, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I love this time stuff. We'll get a little bit into wholesale and then we'll kind of just end it. But I guess, so you've been in wholesale. You're kind of like the face and the master of the reverse wholesaling thing, if people have ever heard of it. Basically find buyers first, go shopping for them, which is an awesome philosophy that I think everyone should use if you're starting out or still doing this business. Where do you see the wholesale business going in the next year, in the next 5 years, the next 10 years?
Nowhere. I mean, it's going to continue. I mean, the beauty of the wholesale market in particular, it always operates in between. Our business experienced some of the most dramatic growth, I should say, during the Great Recession, right? Where most of our competitors went out of business. Well, our reverse wholesaling philosophy just happened to be perfect for that, right? So when all of the banks stopped lending, the only people who were buying were the cash buyers. And I owned them all, right? I had the relationships. And so therefore I got to win. And so what people have to understand is, in good market or bad, up or down, sideways, it doesn't really matter. Somebody's always buying. And there's a lot of somebody's buying. And that's the beauty of wholesale. As long as people are always buying, right? There might be, right now you might have 1 million cash buyers every quarter buying houses. And when the market goes down, it might be 2 million, because they will come rushing in with all the cash, trying to scoop up every good deal they possibly can. So if you're smart and you're a good wholesaler, you're building amazing relationships with these buyers right now that you're nurturing, and you're getting them to where they're buying multiple properties from you every single year, not every single month. And that will only improve when the market starts to shift, and then it'll kind of come back to where it is now. But this game is not, what I think people forget, the good ones don't, the mediocre ones do, is they forget that if you nurture the buying relationships, you'll always have a business. If you are in the transactional game and always chasing deals, you will be out of business, because you're competing, you're going toe to toe with everybody else, and there's more competition than there's ever been. And when the market takes a hit and takes a shift, you're going to be in a bad spot. It's all about the buyers, baby. Always. It's always about the buyers.
I forgot who it was that said it, and I thought it was like the best way to kind of like outline wholesaling. Wholesaling real estate is it's pretty much just day trading real estate. No matter which way the market trends, we're just day trading this thing at the prices, X price is here, we just got to get it lower. If the market's going this way, we just got to be low. If the market's this way, and to your point, you're going to just find the buyer that we can day trade the house to. We're not buying Apple stock or anything. We're just buying houses and commercial, whatever you guys do. But
and you're in and out of it so quickly that your risk is minimal, to say the least. And so now, if you're out there fixing and flipping houses, you're doing any of that kind of stuff, I can tell you that it's not a matter if you will get caught. It's just a matter of when, right? Because I've never met one person that does fix and flips that when the market didn't shift, they didn't get caught and then pay a pretty hefty price. So sometimes that price means you're out of the business. Sometimes that price just means you learned a really valuable lesson, but everybody gets caught at some time.
Yeah. Dude, I love that. I actually love this question for you, the next question, because I think I know what the answer is going to be. I like to ask this to everyone I interview. What is the $100 million play in the real estate industry? What do you think it is?
I'm not focused on the 100 million. I'm focused on the 10 billion. I can tell you right now.
Okay. I love that.
I think that right now the industry is being disrupted more in the last 9 months than I've seen it in my entire career, right? As long as I've been in it. And so technology is changing the industry very, very quickly. And the consumer is getting more and more comfortable transacting right from their phone, right from their desktop. And now technology is beginning to come forward where companies like Cribs and like others are kind of making that possibility into a reality. I think the iBuyer space and if you really think about it, the iBuyer space is kind of just a marketing term. Because people like us have been buying houses and paying all cash and closing in 24 hours. We've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah. All that's happened now is a bunch of money has come into it and somebody's put a pretty little marketing campaign around it. And suddenly you've got these national companies. But the beauty of those companies coming in is they're bringing a lot of attention and they're bringing a lot of money and they're bringing a lot of technology. And that does nothing but help our industry.
They're getting people comfortable with doing business online in the real estate.
That's exactly right. So what's happening is no different than if you'd have told me 5 years ago, I would pick up my phone and press a couple buttons and suddenly get into the backseat of a perfect stranger's car and have him drive me somewhere, I told you you're batshit crazy. But Uber just does it millions of times every single day between Uber and Lyft, right? It is the new norm. Yeah. And that has happened like that, right? And so that is coming for real estate right now. And it is happening in real time. In our lifetime, we will see that an entire real estate transaction, start to close, to title being recorded, to the public records being updated, everything will all happen in less than 48 hours, right? And that will happen through the iOS technology, Android technology, blockchain technology, the desktop apps. This industry is being pulled along really fast at this point, and it's only getting momentum. So the $10 billion play is be at the forefront of that technology, be one of those leaders that's out there in front of it, kind of greasing those gears and making that happen. Be willing to be extremely disruptive and not afraid to, be well prepared to take on some serious challenges, because there's an enormous amount of money. There are millions of people that their livelihoods are very much at stake here. And what I mean by that is, you think about how many people touch a real estate transaction right now. You and I buy and sell a house. I mean, you've got title, insurance, the clerks down at the county recorder's office, realtors. There are so many livelihoods involved in just a single real estate transaction. Now go multiply that times millions across the entire. There's a lot of people that don't want this technology to move forward. But the reality of it is they are Blockbuster, and they are about to get caught being asleep at the wheel, and they're going to get, a lot of people are going to get taken down by this, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's still going to happen. Yeah. So if you want to be, if you want to be at the forefront, you want to make a big play, then you have to figure out how to get on board with that technology and be a leader in that side of it. And that's the reason why we started what we did a couple of years ago, is because we saw this.
That's an awesome answer. And I'm assuming that you thought all this, you're like, all right, what's the $10 billion play? It's somewhere in tech. And then this leads me to, is this the reason why you started Cribs? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. We started Cribs because, look, here's the best advice I can give anybody when it comes to these big ideas like this is, what is the single biggest challenge you can think of, and then solve it. And because if it's a problem for you, it's a problem for somebody else. And to me, the challenges that I've solved in the past have kind of been here, and then they kind of moved up. And now this one is beyond anything I could imagine. And the single biggest challenge in real estate is it is probably the single most inefficient transaction you could ever possibly do. And that goes back to, because there's so many hands in the pot, right? It is the dumbest thing on the planet. And I'm not talking about the way you and I buy houses. I'm just talking about a traditional real estate deal, right? I'm a seller. I got to go hire a realtor. They go put it on the MLS. Then now I'm the actual one that does all the showings, right? I've got to clean my house up and get all this. I got to go through all the pain of all that. And then when it does sell, now I got to take the discount, and then I got to go pay somebody 6% commission. And then I got to show up to a title company, and I got to stack of 3 inches of paper. It is just a cluster when you think about it. And it's a massive, massive problem. And so I was asked the question a couple of years ago, if you could solve any problem in real estate, what would it be? And I was like, that's the problem. I want to make it where I could buy and sell a house right from my phone, and all the contracts, all the title work, everything was done in real time, and it was just done. And I could show up in 3 days and bring my check and pick up my contracts and be out the door. And so, as you can imagine, that is a massive undertaking to even begin to solve that challenge. And so, luckily I have really good partners, and we set out to get it done. And we're launching in July in Phoenix.
Are you? Awesome.
Yep. And so
I think I saw you guys put like a billboard up or something, right?
Yeah. We have a massive, we have built a C-suite team of executives that is unlike anything I've ever been able to put together. We've raised a lot of money, millions of dollars. This is a problem that we took really seriously, right? We've got a lot of money behind us, got a lot of experience behind us, got a lot of really talented people on board that have accomplished a great deal in their own careers, from people that have been some of the highest executives inside of Yahoo and iHeartRadio and Dell Computer and it's just people that their way of thinking is just completely different than you and I, right? The entrepreneurial guys. These are people that come from the corporate world and bring a level of expertise in that is nothing that I've ever been around. And I'm really privileged to be a part of what we've been able to build so far. I'm really excited about where it's going.
Yeah, I'm excited for you, man. You presented it to us in the boardroom that we did in Utah. I think that was the first time that we heard about it. Everybody's wearing crib shirts, riding ATVs and stuff. It's just pretty fun. So man, I'm just like pumped to see kind of like where it goes. But dude, that's awesome. I love that answer. I love that you're doing something so big. It's just like, it's like inspiring, and I hope people get inspired by that. I mean, yeah, although you started off as, young entrepreneur making a ton of money, at the end of the day, you're still a regular guy, right? Guy. Yeah, I mean,
there's nothing special about me. I mean, there's literally nothing special about me. The only thing that is, I might be wired a little different than most people. Right. But I mean, I get up just like everybody else does. I take my kids to school. I have a 5-year-old that throws spits in the middle of the floor, just like every other, person has a 5-year-old. I mean, I'm as normal as they get, man.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. You're wired, and you have, I think, a lot differently than most people. But you got a family, you got a wife, you have kids, you run a business, you deal with people. You write emails, you take phone calls. You're like you're a regular dude. You're just very committed on something that's so cool to just like be around. But just to wrap it up, I guess tell us where people can find you. Tell us so I'm a part of the mastermind. If you guys don't know, if you haven't seen it, like some of the other videos. We got a good video of you. I forgot. Yeah, we got to get that video out there. Oh yeah,
the one in the Dominican Republic. Where that was. I gotta push that.
Oh, the one with the sunblock.
Yeah, where she slowed it down while you're putting the sunblock on. That was great.
Oh god, that's funny. So yeah, man, we're part of this mastermind, and there's some really high level people. We get together a couple times of the year around the country, around the U.S. Or actually this time we went to DR. And we talk about real estate numbers and stuff. How can people find you? How can people find out more about that stuff?
Probably the easiest way to get, to find out or to connect with me would be to go either to Facebook, Instagram, or just go to KentClothier.com. To find out about the Boardroom Mastermind, you can just go to theboardroommastermind.com. Or again, when you follow all that, me on all these other social media sites, we talk about it a lot. And again, it's a invite only group. We kind of go through a selection process that we want to make sure that we get the best caliber people in there. But I would love for anybody that's watching this, if they feel like they need some help and would love to become a part of our world, as Raul will attest to, that that's what we're about here. We have a community of love, helping people at every level, whether you're just getting started or you think you're the big daddy in your market. I promise you, I'll put you around people that'll make you feel small real quick. And that's what life's about.
Yep. Yeah. And I can attest to that, man. I can attest to the screening process. We've been around, and there's people that haven't been able to get on. And there's people who, it's like you said, there's people that like come into the room for the first time, like, all these deals. After 2 presentations, you're like, okay, well, maybe there's something. Maybe I'm not sending enough mail.
Maybe I need to go back to the hotel room and redo my presentation. I thought I was a big deal.
I've seen so many people do that. It's so crazy. Awesome, man. But dude, thanks again for being on. I know you're busy. I know you got a bunch of huge things going on. Hope to see you soon, by the way. I know I can't make it to the last board. But thanks, guys. So follow Kent. I'm going to put in the show notes and all this stuff. Kent Clothier on Instagram, Facebook, also Boardroom Mastermind, KentClothier.com. One love, guys. I appreciate it. Raul Bolufe. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Check us out. Peace, guys.
Peace.